Now, we can all agree, and it doesn't matter what instrument you play or whether you're a golfer with suffering from the yips or a darts player throwing darts and your hands shaking or can't let go of the dart, the involuntary activations and confusion in the brain ranges from a little frustrating and annoying to soul destroying and creating a massive avalanche of emotional chaos. This is the unfortunate condition of musicians' vocal dystonia or a sports related kind of issue. Now, counter to what you would actually think, the important thing that is really essential here is that we learn to understand and respect the error. The best way to fix it, get rid of it, is to understand it, understand where it's coming from, why it's happening, and give the brain that alternate viable option via the drills that we do. So you've got to keep in mind that this has all happened for a reason, and the reasons are wide and varied. But the Brian here thinks he's protecting you. He's thinking he's doing the right thing. So what we need to do is tell him we're not doing that anymore. We know that we are consciously in control of our body, of all the muscles. We can do things. We might eventually hit what I call the force field, where in trumpet world you might bring your fingers up, and soon as it gets too close to the face, the head goes back. Right? It's breached the force field. It might be fingers going down on a piano. The closer you get, the fingers starts to tremor. Or you go to pick up the dart and it's fine when your arm's down, but by the time you pick it up, things start to shake because you're reaching the force field, which is this position. We need to know this information, and rather than be emotionally affected by it, and I call that the victim psychology, and that might be a little bit confronting to people, but we've got two options here. We can be the, oh no, I've got dystonia, I can't fix it, my life is over. Or we can be the observer educator and go, hey Brian, you know what? We're not doing that anymore. I'm consciously in control. I want to find the errors. I want to stimulate the errors. I want to find from stillness, the minute that I start thinking or moving, what happens that we don't want. That's what we're looking for. What are the trigger points? So when you're working on your own, or when you're working with us, hopefully we get to meet you, come in and do the package. You've got to put all of your cards on the table. The worst thing you can do is hold the information back and go, it's okay, it'll take care of itself, or I don't want Greg or Julie to see this reaction, I don't want it, I hate it. That's the defense brain, that's the defense mechanism happening, and I understand that it can be so confronting, embarrassing, all that sort of thing. Running away from it, I just want to get out of here, I just want to run, is not fixing the problem. We confront it, face on. There's a black barking dog and you look at it straight in the face. We're not afraid of it because our body's not broken. There is a solution, and the conscious mind wins. The conscious mind will program the subconscious mind. Brian, you're doing this. We've got the desire of what we're going to achieve, yet we've got the default brain. So we've got this Brian versus desire issue going on here. We can't have that. The biggest thing that you've got to work on is your belief system. And your belief needs to be, I'm not any longer concerned about the reactions. I want to get to know them. I want to get to know exactly where they start, and then understand that they don't have to happen. And the drills that we do will give the brain that viable option. So make sure when you're working on this, I often see people go like a small tremor. Oh, it's okay. It's improving. It's getting better. That's not the right psychology. We've got zero tolerance for for any involuntary or unnecessary muscle activations, any reactions, any tremors, any twitches, any hot spots, any little spot fires. We don't have them because we change the brain. Again, the brain thinks it's doing the right thing. We don't put up with that anymore. We're going, I'm not doing that anymore. And when you watch, when you use the psychology of I'm doing this, I'm not doing that, eyes closed based on a feeling and a visualization of your desired outcome, you watch how Brian rolls over and you're in control. He'll stop doing whatever it is that you don't want him to do, but it's very important that you get your messaging correct based on the feeling. Don't do the error, do this. When he gets it right, well done, Brian, and then you repeat. You do the learning loop process, and we just go around and around until Brian behaves himself, and then we can go, F you, Brian, you're doing what I want. We're fixing up Brian. So the Fubrian approach is consciously we're in control. Consciously we understand the system. Consciously we know that we can control what he does. And ultimately we're not going to have to think about it. At the start we have to think about it. We have to think about it a lot. But eventually we won't, because it will become your new default. Consciously we know that the body's not broken. Consciously we know that we've got control of my fingers out here and my fingers out here, and eventually my fingers here or fingers there. Okay? But the number one thing is, when you're working with yourself, you're honest, all cards on the table. If you're working with Julie and I, we can see a lot, so we'll know whether you're hiding stuff. But at times there might be things going on in the mind or in the body that we're not picking up on. If you don't put all your cards on the table and you go, it's okay, it's improving, or it's getting better, or I don't want them to know about it, you are not doing the full comprehensive brain changing process that must happen to get you through this horrid condition. Honesty, awareness, that degree of dopamine, the excitement of I know I can get through this, I know I can. The more frustrated you get with the error, he recognizes that you're not happy, the frustration builds and builds, and eventually he'll find the answer and you tell him, that's what we want to do. Well done, Brian, you just found it. Fantastic. The only way you're going to have these revelations is by putting all cards on the table. Don't hold anything back. This process works, so make sure you stick really diligently with that process. All cards on the table.